So this is exactly how I underwrite a flip deal in under 10 minutes. This is what I do for clients and for my own deals. I'm going to show you how to do it. So you don't want to start just by looking at the price of a deal that you have. So if you have a deal and you have XYZ price that you're looking at, you want to actually find the exact same properties that look the same style, square footage, have the same number of bedrooms, bathrooms as the one that you're looking at flipping. And you want to take the finished product, so something that looks like what you're going to make this property look like, and you want to start with that price because that's going to tell you what the end value is. So you always work it backwards, right? You start with the end and then take out the price, rentals, etc. Now, the second thing you're going to do is you're going to take your renovation budget and you're going to get a really good idea of what this thing's going to cost you and have some contingencies in there. So typically for a cosmetic flip, we're probably spending 40 to 60 bucks a square foot. Now, when I'm talking about cosmetic flip, we're talking about flooring, paint, trim, doors, baseboards, doing a little bit of drywall, maybe minor plumbing, minor electric, right? So nothing crazy. So it's like a refresh, but there are some new things you're putting in. Now, that's kind of more straightforward. It's easy, it's more predictable. But when you get into deals that are more complex, and these can be attractive because a lot of times you'll be making more profit. Like I just looked at a deal recently where I need to basically gut everything, do the framing, drywall, some structural work, new plumbing, new electrical, 100%. This is like a really old property. Now the challenge with that is we're looking at anywhere from 80 to 100 bucks a square foot. So average property, if you have, let's say like 1,000 to 1,200 square feet upstairs and then another 700 to 1,000 downstairs, you know, you can easily hit that like 120, 150K rental, maybe even more. Is it worth doing? Maybe, right? But you really got to dial in numbers with those. So you got to be extra careful. But using those kind of ranges of per square foot cost is the easiest way to do it, right? Just very quick math, quick and dirty. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to take all those numbers now and you're going to do a very quick kind of equation, right? You're gonna basically do, remember the comparables have to be recent, match everything exactly the same number of bedrooms, square footage, etc., right? Same number of bathrooms. And you're gonna minus out the rental, you're gonna minus out your carrying cost. So basically what your mortgage is gonna cost you monthly. If you have a private mortgage, you probably have some lending fees. And then your closing costs and your realtor commissions, which are typically 4 or 5%, right, of the sale price. So if you're predicting a 750K resale, minus out 30 to 40K, right? So once you do that, you have exactly the profit that you're gonna get after all of your costs. And to be careful, what I might do is, if it's a more complex rental, you just add an extra month or two for contingency to the renovation timeline. So typically a cosmetic, simple, straightforward rental might take you 2 to 3 months. A more serious rental might take you 4 to 6 months, right? Where you're waiting for permits, you're waiting for contractors, you have different trades coming in because you got all this different type of work like electrical, structural, plumbing, you got plumbers, electricians, everyone's coordinating, right? There can be delays a lot of times just by waiting for people. It doesn't even have to do with the actual work. Account for all that stuff, put some contingencies. A lot of times, I'll take the rental budget and I'll add a 10% contingency. So if it comes to 50K, we're going with 55K or in some cases even 60K, right? We're just over budgeting on purpose because you don't know what kind of unexpected hurdles you're gonna face, right? And then that's basically gonna give you the exact number that you need to move forward. Now, that number typically isn't really the most important one. The number that you're actually looking for is the net ROI you're getting on the flip. So depending on what you're putting into the property, rental, down payment, closing costs, holding costs. Let's say on a cosmetic deal, you're buying it for 500, you're doing some cosmetic rentals, etc., right? Or 400K, whatever it is. You might spend 160, 175K. That number and the net profit, I want to take those two and see what I'm actually getting for that money, 175K I'm putting in. Am I getting 50K back for it? Am I getting 20 to 30% at least? I want to typically see 25 to 30% of the total cash I'm putting in. So if I'm putting in 200K, I want to see 60K at least, 65K. If I'm putting in 300K, I want to see 90 to 100K. Now, again, the most important thing is the more complex the rental, you actually want to see a higher profit margin and a higher profit net ROI, right? So you want to see like 40% plus on like really complex deals, because so many things can go wrong. So if I'm doing like full rebuild of a house interior where I'm spending 200, 250K, I actually want to see a 40 to 50% return on my capital, because so many things can go wrong and that number can get squeezed, right? So just keep that in mind, and that's how you calculate it. Now, some tips to keep in mind is if you're looking at a property and it looks clean, especially if it's on the MLS, and you think you're getting a great price and you can add some value to it, it probably isn't a good deal. And I'll tell you why. Nowadays, buyers, when you're selling this flip, are they're very sophisticated. They understand exactly what you did. They can calculate your rentals even sometimes. They'll talk to people. You know, there's a lot of tools now. They can see exactly what you bought it for. They can see what every property in the neighborhood pretty much sold for. So if you're buying some property that already looks nice and clean and you're just painting it and throwing flooring on it, people are just going to be pissed off. It doesn't matter if what you're giving them is a good deal. They're just going to say, hey, you didn't do very much here and we saw everything. I know it doesn't sound like it's fair, but that's literally how people are. I've literally had these conversations with people. They asked me for the old pictures because they couldn't see all the pictures of what the house used to look like, because they wanted to determine, did this guy do enough for him to get a profit, even though we're getting a decent deal. The other thing too is, don't try to take on projects that are too big. Don't try to bite off more than you can chew, because what happens is if you're not experienced handling multiple different trades and contractors, or you don't already have someone in your corner that is, you're gonna get into a lot of issues, because you have to manage people, timelines, expectations, budgets, right? You might be using private capital a lot of times on these flips when they're rougher. A bank might not even finance it. So there's a lot of moving parts to this. Better to go simple and straightforward. Obviously, like I said, make sure you are doing some work on the property, but you don't need to go into the big heavy reno deals where you're doing full gut renos just because the numbers look great, especially on your first one, right? If you do that, you can very quickly find yourself getting out of the business as quickly as you got in. If you're looking to get into deals like these and you want to skip all the headaches, you don't want to do all the underwriting, you want someone to do all that for you, you can reach out to me. I underwrite these deals weekly. I spend a couple hours every day finding deals, underwriting them, doing the budgets. I've done a bunch of these deals myself, so I know how to calculate the rentals, what to expect in terms of timelines, and I'll make that easy for you so you can do it. And if you want to be completely hands-off, we can figure something out for that as well, where you can just get into a flip without having to actually really even do any work at all. If you think it sounds too good to be true, just reach out to me. We can have a conversation. Click the link below. You can schedule a call on Calendly, or you can reach out to me through my website or Instagram, and we can have a chat.